physical therapy, but I'm concerned about society in sports, racism in sports.
Hey, look, I served in the military. 20 plus years in the United States Army, retired officer, 3 combat tours to Iraq. Now, this is when he was in his raw state. I mean, meat eating, raw, rare, eating flesh, all kind of this carnivorous, this mean and scary guy.
And we wanted to just share with y'all, maybe even crow a little bit on where our Lakers are right now. We're
with the Dodgers and the Braves, and Dodgers getting the brakes beat off of them.
And win games, don't turn the ball over. And that's their bugaboo, is turning the ball over and giving up too many points on defense. Their defense hasn't shown up yet for 2020.
This episode of Take It to the House is brought to you by Mesa Trophies and Plaques. Now, take it to the house.
I'm Vic Kirby, and I'm taking it to the house.
I'm Tim Hoover, and I'm taking it to the house. And I want to say thank you for those who voted. You took it to the house last night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you didn't vote, shame on you. We really stand on the back of shoulders of great legends who died, sacrificed for us to have this opportunity, and you neglected your fundamental responsibility if you did not vote. But thank you for those who did vote. We have an NFL-centric sports show today, and we're going to talk about some of the power rankings. So y'all bear with us. Come on and take it to the house with us. Vic, for me, I want to talk about the NFC first. 3 teams come to mind: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Seattle Seahawks, and then we got the third team, a distant third, which is the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, on the defensive end, they can't stop a nosebleed. But offensively, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got an outstanding running game. I think they can make some noise, but they need some help on the defensive end. And then you got Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay number 1, Seahawks number 2. Seahawks got Russell Wilson at quarterback, Pete Carroll at coaching, and they always have a defense. So it's just a matter of just coming together, a couple of breaks for them to come to fruition, and some nationally have them ranked number 1 in the NFC. But as long as you got Tom Brady, he's like the CEO of the Buccaneers, and all of his, as you talk about leadership and organizational leadership, he brings that corporate knowledge. 6 NFL championships from New England to the Tampa Bay Bucks. And as long as he has what he has as far as that corporate knowledge, even stealing a little bit from Bill Belichick, you never count him out, in my opinion. Plus, he has all the weapons, and we talked about it in weeks before. We talked about him having he has Fournette. We got outstanding receivers on the outside. He got the defense, and he has the special teams. So those are my 3 teams in the NFC. What say you, sir?
When we talk about power rankings, I do get fired up because at the end of the day, I said I'm an NFL fan. I'm an NFL fan, and I'm going to answer your question on power rankings. You know, as an NFL fan, I have no issues watching games from 1 p.m. Eastern time to 12 midnight Eastern time, plus the highlights that takes me to 2 o'clock in the morning. However, I'm not going to start wasting my time watching bad football. And so when you ask about power rankings, it's very important I start watching quality football. And I'll tell you what, 2 teams are not on that list. Since we're talking about the NFC, 2 teams not on that list: Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. I'm surprised Roger Goodell didn't put them on the TV Sunday night. Because you wasted my time. And because I'm a glutton for punishment and I am a creature of habit, I almost fell for the trap and watched that game. I almost fell for the trap until my daughter and my family asked me if I wanted to watch a family movie. And I said, sure. So I watched Grease Part 2. Not even the one with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. This one has Michelle Pfeiffer. But I tell you what, I enjoyed it. Because I was not going to watch cellar dweller teams when we have the opportunity to start talking about hierarchy of NFL. So you asked me about power rankings, particularly in an NFC. Obviously, those teams are not on there, and that's a shame because a league that has the Eagles and the Cowboys performing, that should have been a dynamic game where we can start talking about who's the leader of the NFC East. So for you to already lay out 3 teams that you've identified in the NFC that is a power ranking top 3, you said top 3, not top 4, because the NFC East doesn't have anybody. That's a shame. So when I look at the power rankings in the NFC, I agree with you. Buccaneers, number 1. Even though they have a couple losses, I look at who they played and who they lost. So a game worth watching for the Buccaneers this weekend are the Saints. They play the Saints this weekend. So I think that'd be great because they did lose against the Saints earlier. But again, I look at the quality of wins as well as who they lost to for me to say the Buccaneers are number 1. Then I look at the Seahawks. Their game's upcoming. They got the Bills this weekend. I think the Bills are a pretender, not a contender, but they are first place in the AFC East. They'll play the Rams, and then they also play the Cardinals. So the NFC West already is a very competitive division. So that's where I look for Seahawks. So they'll start defining themselves as a quality team. Then the Saints cannot put anything past Drew Brees. So they do play the Bucks and they play the Chiefs. So their sample size is going to start getting a little more a substance. And then, of course, I say the Packers because you got Aaron Rodgers, and they do play the Titans in a couple weeks, and that's about that's the most competitive team they'll play in the next few weeks. So when I look at my power rankings for the NFC in particular, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Saints, and Packers. Again, it's a shame not one NFC East team is on there. They don't even deserve to be even in the playoffs. So maybe they'll do some flex scheduling with Roger Goodell, but that's what I look at for the NFC. What do you think for the AFC?
Well, the AFC, we talked about it in weeks past. Kansas City, my goodness, I expect them to really repeat. They didn't lose anybody on offense or defense. Over 90% of their personnel has come back. Only thing that will beat them to me is complacency and maybe somebody on a good day, just having a better day that day. So I would start with them as my number 1. Number 2 is kind of shady because I don't know about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 6-0 or undefeated, but is that a real record? Is that real? Because this past weekend when the Baltimore Ravens was playing against them, I thought the Ravens beat them every way you can beat them, but on the final score. And so I don't know if Pittsburgh is as good as their record indicates, yet they are 6-0. So do I rank them second? I could, but arguably you can put Baltimore second. And so those 2 teams can go back and forth interchangeable. The problem with Baltimore, and I can easily put Baltimore 3, Lamar. It begins with him and it ends with him. Last week I talked about him making some adjustments and some changes. And if you look at his arm swing, the way he throws the ball, it's almost like at a 3/4, and it's not overhand, it's not sidearm. And so it's suspect at best, just mechanically. I think he's an outstanding athlete. I think he has all the qualities to be a good one, but he still has to make some adjustments and growth, some personal growth with decision making. So just based on that alone, I put him 3rd. I can easily put Pittsburgh as number 2. And my number 4th choice, I still have a liking for the Tennessee Titans. And so is that how it's going to end up? No. Am I an expert? No. Did I play the game at the professional level? No. Like you said earlier, I'm a fan. And this is how I see it. So my eye test lays out the AFC this way as I see it. How it ends up, I don't know. But I'd love to come back in about, a month and a half, 8 weeks and say, look at us. So date stamp this, Mr. Steve. Let's talk about this later when we get down to the final 2, final 4. What is your say, sir, on the AFC?
Wow. Exact same order, almost the same exact justification. Chiefs, hands down, their championship to lose. They do have some strong teams ahead of them. They're playing the Buccaneers and they'll play the Saints. But I have no reason to question Patrick Mahomes. He is who he is. And this comes to a point where we all talk about great players. Got it. Let's start talking about becoming great to legendary. And legendary requires you to be sustained success. Organizations come from great to legendary. People become from great to legendary. Coaches, players, great to legendary. It comes about sustained success. Some people go from great to good. Very few go from great to legendary. And right now, Patrick Mahomes has proven himself. One, he's already a Super Bowl champion and an NFL MVP. So he's already proven himself. So it's for the Chiefs to lose. Then I do look at the Steelers and same thing. I have to give the Steelers props as a 7-0 team. They're also the first place in the division. I do question who they played, and I also question the fact that they did get the brakes beat off of them by my Ravens. But scoreboard. Ravens ran over 220-something yards on them. And that's supposed to be like one of the number one ranked defenses. Ran through them. Lamar Jackson, four turnovers. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about power rankings, you beat the Ravens. And I said it was the Ravens' division to lose. And right now they're losing it. So I have to give it to the Steelers because they have done what they needed to do. They played and beat who they're supposed to play and beat. So their next upcoming games of interest, the Ravens again, Thanksgiving weekend, and then they play the Bills. So then I do have number 3, the Ravens. The easy should be number 2. The two teams they lost with a 5-2 record are the Chiefs and the Steelers. And we know they could have won both those games. And to your point, I'm there's days I'm hesitant to watch Lamar. I enjoy him as an athlete, but I need him to start getting from great to legendary. Right now, he's good to great. And I don't want him falling in his rankings because he has a lot of potential. But he had a lead last week. I can easily say the defense did something to not sustain the lead going into the fourth quarter. But you're the quarterback. 4 of those turnovers was his. 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6. So I'm leery. I'm still encouraged, yet I'm leery. Then, and with their upcoming games, they have the Titans and the Steelers. So again, are you champs or are you chumps? Then the Titans, I got to look at it. So the Titans play the Packers and the Ravens. So I agree with you in your order. That's where I'm at with the AFC. It'll be interesting to see how the cream rises to the top. But again, hey, scoreboard to all the Steelers fans. I know you're my arch rival, but mad respect. Hey, scoreboard, y'all there. Y'all the kings of the AFC North. Mad respect.
If you had to pick 2 to represent one for the AFC and one for the NFC, if you had to pick the Super Bowl contenders, if you had to choose 2 today, who would you choose? I know it's a long episode. I know we're way ahead of the game. What does the eye test tell you?
Oh, well, I'll stick with the NFC because it's easier and less emotional for me. Buccaneers versus the Seahawks. That's the NFC Championship game. Buccaneers versus the Seahawks. I'm excited to watch Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf grow together. Those two. Woohoo! And now you give Tom Brady also a new weapon called Antonio Brown.
Yes.
Taking his off the field antics away from the equation. Them two, and he got Gronk, and that's going to be exciting. So that'll be a great NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
AFC, Chiefs, hands down.
Okay.
And the Steelers. Eyeball test. Record says all. And I just gave my justification. And it hurts to say that. But until Lamar Jackson and the Ravens beat a team they're supposed to beat, not the bad teams, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Finish the game. I cannot consider you ready for the big show. Because even with that, the big shows, he has failed to show up. I don't need you to blow out teams like the Jets 30, 40 points to nothing. I need you to beat the Steelers by 3 points. I need you to beat the Chiefs by 4 points. I need you to dominate against the Titans with 6 points. Come play ball. So until they show me that, I'm going to have a level of hesitancy saying that you will be in the AFC Championship game because you got to play the divisional wild card game. You got to play the next the championship game, divisional game, all those other playoff games, which are big games that Lamar Jackson right now is 0-2. Show me you can play on the big stage. Then I can go ahead and raise your stock.
Okay. That was fair. Thank you. I can't argue with you, brother. It's sound logic. It's rational. What you bring to the table as far as your argument, I support what you see. With the exception of one thing, I still think Tennessee Titans, because of Ben Roethlisberger, he's fragile to me, very fragile, and Lamar is inconsistent. But one thing you can always count on a Mike Vrabel team with the Tennessee Titans is they bring it and the Derrick Henry boy, he's bad news when he's coming. So I would not be surprised to see the Tennessee Titans and Kansas City in the AFC Championship, Buccaneers, Seahawks in the NFC, with probably the Buccaneers winning that one, KFC winning for the AFC. So it would be the Buccaneers and Kansas City in the Super Bowl. But it's early, but that's my take.
That's interesting. I mean, that'd be a rematch from last year's AFC Championship game. And again, that's what distanced the Tennessee Titans, that running game. You can travel with a running game. And look, that makes Ryan Tannehill look like a new quarterback. He was the nobody in Miami. He was on his way out of the league. You get with a Mike Vrabel team, like you said, and you got a strong running game. You got Tannehill earlier this year. They're talking about him as the MVP candidate. So when you talk about ball in January, when it's cold, no one's throwing it. They're running the rock. And that dude, Derrick Henry, again, we said a couple weeks ago, it causes defensive backs to make business decisions if they want to tackle them. So I like what you're saying. I understand why you say it. It'll be interesting as it plays out. But again, they do have a couple tests coming down the road to see if they're ready for the show.
You mentioned some bad teams, and there are several in the NFL that have some bad teams. But are they bad teams, bad coaches? You're so good with leadership, organizational leadership, which starts with the coaching, but it also starts in the locker room as well, and ownership. Think about Pittsburgh Steelers. Why are they so successful? 14 coaches in their whole since 1936. One ownership group, the Rooneys, as a family. And then you got Roethlisberger and a veteran team. Then you talked about the Cowboys. Organizational leadership. What is the problem? What's going on? But it's not so much, well, I'm not going to say that because Jerry Jones, he's bad news. So in organizational leadership, you still got to have a foundation. You got to have structure. You got to let those people that are in the business run the business, and you can't make all the decisions, Mr. Jerry Jones, yourself. What do you think about the hire of Mike McCarthy down there in Dallas when we have some outstanding coaches that are out there waiting, chomping at the bit to get their opportunities?
You're all in my sweet spot. What I like about NFL, what I like about Major League Baseball, what I like about NBA, I love leadership. And so it's also about, and I talked about being great, being legendary. I look at the total body of work. When I see high performing organizations, I look at it from not just the 5-year time span, but I look at the 20, 30 years, and you have a long-term success. Yes, you will have a bad year or bad couple years, but I like watching organizations that says, hey, look, this is our coach. We know we are a playoff caliber team, a championship caliber team. We're going to have bad years. That doesn't mean I have to fire the coach. I'm going to ride or die with you because it's like it starts from the organizational, from the management level, the general management, the ownership team. What is your DNA? What kind of organization are we building? For the Ravens to be built in 1996 and be founded in 1996, they have established themselves as with an organizational identity of hard football, blue collar work. But also, look, we're not playing any silly games. Earl Thomas, great safety. You know what? You played around too much. You don't fit our culture. The player said you got to go. Coach said no problem because we built a culture. You look at sustained excellence. Green Bay Packers. I love that franchise. I have my issue with the Patriots, but over a period of their body of work is a sustained organization. You look at the Steelers, you look at teams like that that have a longevity of leadership and a strong culture. But then you look at organizations like, unfortunately, to the Dallas Cowboys. What happened here? What happened here where you were America's team once upon a time? You had the Tom Landry, then you had the iconic hats, and then you have a Jimmy Johnson that's instilling a winning culture. After going 1-15, then you go 8-9, then you go championship all through the 90s. Somewhere along the line, people start forgetting their roles. If I'm a general manager, I hire my coach, let them execute. What is my vision for my organization? What is the identity? So that we can win, but we have no egos in place. Everyone knows their role. You know my culture. We build into that. The challenge with Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones, same thing that they would call the clapper. They don't have an identity anymore. The Cowboys do not have an identity. So now you're looking for the shiny object. Mike McCarthy was something special in the early 2000s, winning that one championship in Green Bay. But you won one championship with a championship caliber franchise at Green Bay? When you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers? So that's your body of work. And you're going to come to the Cowboys where you have a really great nucleus of young players and you're doing nothing. 2-6?
Yes.
So bad teams, I'm interested in one aspect of bad teams. That means job opportunities should be opening up for some coaches. I'm not asking for someone to get fired, but when you're like an Adam Gase at the Jets 0-8, Cowboys made this hire for Mike McCarthy, Falcons now 2-1 since they have Raheem Morris, a black head coach, the interim, when the previous coach was 0-6. The Giants 1-7, Texans, Jack. We have some black coaches that should be looked at for some of these opportunities instead of recycling these other coaches around. And I think that's what I look at as an opportunity for bad teams, but also opportunities for organizations to say, hey, we're committed to winning and placing the right type of people in here that can put the right type of culture.
Yes. Yes. I thank you for that take, because I get tired of recycling and seeing the same old coaches over and over again when I don't see enough blacks in the front office, ownership groups, nor in the general manager or coaching. And then when we get fired, you don't see them again. They're now OCs or defensive coordinators and not getting another opportunity. We had some outstanding and smart coaches out there. Eric Bieniemy, you talk about Raheem Morris. We have others as well. And give them a chance. Give them a chance. Give them the leash that you give the white coaches, please. And you'll be surprised that there's more than a Tony Dungy out there. There's more out there that can lead your team to the promised land. So give them a chance. Mike McCarthy, you're in a bad way. You're in a bad situation out there in Dallas because the owner will not let you coach. The roles out there to me are not defined. So therefore, you're going to have some confusion. Who's running things? If the players can go to the owner and not to the coach, then you have no power. There's a problem. USC going against Arizona State. And I know you're a USC alumni. So what are your thoughts on the NCAA starting up, COVID impacting? I was thinking before you have your take, why in a truncated season like this, is the NCAA even thinking about a bowl, a ranking system, a Heisman Trophy winner, when not everybody is playing the same amount of games, there's not enough, the same amount of reps. And then I mentioned COVID just a few minutes ago. We got a game this week that's going to be canceled with Wisconsin. So why are we so interested in ranking or no, you know what? I already know the answer to that question. It's money. It's all about money. Every decision that's being made up to this point is really about money. It's not about the play. As a fan, I want to see the NCAA. I want to see players play. But in the end, when you're not regarding taking the precautions of COVID like I think you should, and you didn't ask me, but you're looking at Heisman Trophy winners, you're looking at bowls and opportunities to make some more money, which is also recruiting, which is you're getting your games in for what? for what? And in the end, I see it's all about the dollars. And I'm sorry. You can miss me with that, but I'm concerned. I am concerned. What about player safety? What about the student athlete? Sir, what is your take? I know I'm on a little rant here, and I apologize, but it bothers me. We have this going. Go ahead, sir.
Get it. I feel your passion, baby. Get it. My son graduates high school next year. He's a senior right now. He will be in college. Now, he's not a D1 athlete or anything like that, but it's my son. And when I start thinking about COVID impact on amateur players, it's already bad enough watching NFL trying to navigate this. But you had a potential Heisman winning quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who has done everything he needed to do in his college career, getting to the championship games, winning the championship games, and now trying to finally get this elusive Heisman. And now he can't play these next 2 games because he's got COVID. So, and again, is he playing these games because he needs to make sure he's in competition to play for the national championship game? Which, if we want to talk about asterisks, you have some teams that started in August, September. You got the Big Ten that just started 2 weeks ago. And they got the Pac-12 starting now in November, when traditionally NCAA football would end in December because the kids had to do their finals, get ready for the bowl season in January. So why? As you stated, what are they? If you want to do something, just do it internally. Do the Pac-12 conference games, Big Ten conference games, play your internal SEC championship game, what have you. Call it over. Use those rankings for the next year. But to start thinking that you can have a normal season and a normal playoff season in NCAA while these are children, not getting paid, not legally getting paid. These children going across the country, risking themselves and their young bodies against this thing called COVID we still don't know about. And we're now going to the first year of a winter part of COVID. So I think it's unfair. I'm excited, I guess, to some degree to know that USC is going to suit up and play. But it's almost like watching football, NFL. There's going to be some bad football games. And I can be honest with you, I've watched very few college football. It's just not entertaining. And so the COVID impact, and now to start have a staggered conference schedule, like you said, you can miss me with that.
I just want to say thank you to our fans out there. If you've been watching and listening to us, please continue to follow us on Facebook, follow us and like us, please, on Twitter. And you can catch us on Fieldhouse Sports Entertainment as well. So we want to just take it to the house every week and come back and join us.
Thank you all again. And Unc said it earlier. Thank you for voting. Regardless if you're red or blue, we're all Americans. Thank you for exercising your constitutional right. Now let's do what we need to do as a people, as a country, and continue to represent the great nation we are. So again, thank you for taking to the house. Thank you for dialing in and tuning in with us. Look forward to seeing you next week. We got a lot to talk about next week, as you already know. So until next week, take it to the house.